finally, after many, many episodes, the episode we have all been waiting for has finally come. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the American Season 3, Episode 10, Stingers, and oh my god, this was the game changer of the series. Not just the season, the series, because what happened in this episode, and I knew this was coming. I didn't know when it was coming, but I was so excited. And finally, it's happened. And I'll get to what I'm talking about. And oh my god, what an amazing episode. And one of the things I loved about this episode is that this episode mainly just focused on their relationship with Paige and what they're going to do about Paige. And I absolutely loved this episode. By far, best episode of the entire series. Yes. Finally, we have found an episode that was better than the Season 2 finale. I didn't think there could be one, but this episode was better than the Season 2 finale. It really was. Let's just get into it because it was fucking amazing. So we start with Pastor Tim. He's coming to see Philip. He asks if it's about Paige, and Tim says he needs a travel agent, and that they're taking a mission trip every year, and they're going to Kenya this year, and he says he's sure Paige will want to go, because, Paige would be interested in that, and Tim says that they should all come along, and, Philip obviously doesn't want to come because of their religion and everything, and Philip says now's not the right time for that, and Tim advises him to treat Paige, and I like his advice here. I like what he says. He says someone like Paige needs to be treated more like an adult than a kid, which is true, because Paige is a lot smarter than your average everyday teenager. She's extremely smart, she's extremely observant, and she knows a lot more things about, she definitely is a lot more observant about Phillip and Elizabeth. So I definitely agree with Tim's advice there. I think that was really good that he said that. Of course, Phillip says that, he asks if he has kids, and Tim says he has a flock, but Phillip says it's not the same, and it just goes to show, how Phillip thinks of Paige. He still thinks of her as this little girl. He doesn't think of her as a teenager and someone who knows more. He just thinks of her as a little girl. But that's just because of how much he cares about her, and he loves her that much that he just thinks of her as that little girl, and as much as that's great, she's not a little girl anymore, and he needs to understand that, and Tim says that it's not different, and I kind of agree what he's saying, that no matter what you have, with a kid, sometimes you need to treat them more like an adult. If they're more observant, you need to treat her like an adult. And Philip pulls out some travel brochures, and then we see Stan. He takes Zenaida to the movies to see Tootsie, and I love Tootsie. I'm going to say that right now. I love that movie. It's a great movie, but as we know, of course, Stan is still suspicious of Ziniada, and this might be the one episode where I'm the most suspicious about Ziniada because of what we see in this episode, because she says she has to go to the bathroom. They escort her out, and Stan asks if she likes the movie. When she said, I'm like, she's not going to the bathroom. There's clearly something else that she's going to do here. Because she says in the Soviet Union, the man dressing like the woman would never happen, and that's complete bullshit, because, they're disguised and things like that obviously would happen. Stan tells her it wouldn't happen in the U.S. either. They check the bathroom, then let her go in, and she sticks something under the counter and then goes into a stall. She flushes and waits. Now, what do I think she put under the counter? I have no idea, but that right there just got me so intrigued by her story, and I love that. It's a very small thing, but it just gets you really intrigued by it and makes you more interested in what's going on with her. So Henry gets into a bolt hole in his closet, and he looks through nude pictures he has stashed there, and we see that he definitely is into that. That one picture that he had of Mrs. Beeman, this is clearly something that he's into, and it's just showing how Henry's also growing up. Paige knocks, and he puts it all back in his hiding place. Kind of a funny scene. And Paige says that Henry's coming when Philip says Pastor Tim came to the office. Her dad asks if she's expecting a commission and tells Elizabeth they're going on a mission to Kenya. She hands the phone off to Philip and answers it. He says Barb didn't file an agency report and that he has to go, and he heads out. So he heads to a party, and Kimmy was back in this episode, which I love seeing Kimmy in this episode, because again, one of the things I like seeing about Kimmy in this episode is that Philip, think of that advice that Tim gave to Philip. You have to do the same with Kimmy, because Kimmy is also she is the same age as Paige, but she acts more like a child than Paige does. Paige definitely acts more like an adult. Now, Kimmy's completely drunk. She's trying to get out of a beanbag chair, and it's a really funny scene, I have to say. That's one of the things I love about Kimmy, is that they use her for comic relief, and it's always really funny. And he hustles her outside, and Nina then brings Anton tea and asks if he wants anything else, and she asks what he's working on. And he says she wouldn't understand, and she says he works so hard, but he says it doesn't matter. She asks what he means, and he says if they want results, they need to give him what he wants. She asks what, and he says he needs photographs, and she says that's hard and takes time. And he asks where she learned English, because, you know, she's Russian, and they want to know where she got it from. And she says here and in America. And Anton's pretty intrigued by this because he didn't know she knew how to speak English. And I thought that was really interesting when we saw that. So Phillip takes Kimmy home. She's still drunk and says he's the only one who really cares about her. He says that that can't be true. But she says that it is. I mean, and I can understand that. I mean, her parents apparently bailed out on her. She doesn't see her parents much. They fight a lot. And she says it's pathetic, and he says she's real to him and it's not pathetic. She rolls around drunkenly. Then she says she has to go to the bathroom, and she staggers off. And I honestly do feel like Phillip cares for Kimmy, just like he's starting to care for Martha, just because I feel like he thinks of Kimmy as, like, Paige. I really do. He heads downstairs to check on the recording device. He swaps the recorder, and Phillip finishes and looks at a photo of Kimmy and her dad and stepmom. He makes it home and tells Elizabeth that he had to put a Now, I think the reason he looked at that picture is just he is thinking about him, Elizabeth, and Paige, because, of course, her parents never told her the truth, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen to Kimmy to happen to Paige, obviously. I said this before. So he's really starting to think, okay, maybe it is time to tell Paige, and he makes it home and tells Elizabeth that he had to put a drunk Kimmy to bed, then says he got the recorder and plays it for Elizabeth, and there's talk about needed the deputy's director's approval, talking about the, my dean, and they're talking about something that will happen if the army doesn't screw up. And they also mention Afghanistan, and Phillip says he'll go turn it in, and Phillip finds Elizabeth working at the travel agency. He closes the office door and says Yusuf didn't answer the signal, and she says they needed someone else to tell them who they're going after. Elizabeth says she went to the hotel, and then they see that Paige has shown up. And I'm not talking about just in their home. She's there at their job. She's there, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. And, like, what do you say in that situation? And when that happened, I'm like, she's finding out in this episode. Like, without a doubt, she's getting more suspicious and she's finding out. And she says she was in the city and thought she'd come say hi. Now, probably because she is very suspicious of them, as we know. She doesn't really know what's going on with them. And Elizabeth says she should come by more often. She sits, and Elizabeth says her Legos are still in the bottom drawer. Phillip asks if she can help. They can leave earlier. And Paige asks if they're trying to turn into a travel agent. And it's kind of a funny scene, but I really like that overall. It's just showing how suspicious Paige is becoming, and I love that. Henry goes to answer the door with a video game in hand, and it's Stan. He says he needs to play Stratomatic and says it's a football board game. Henry asks if he still has it and if they can play. Stan says he can't play, but we'll bring it over. He hands Henry a copy of Tron, which, of course, a very famous movie from the 1980s. And he says that they confiscate copied, like, illegal movies, and that's really cool, because, of course, they didn't have, like, Solar Movie back then and things like that. So Phillip and Elizabeth come in, and Henry says Stan gave him a sci-fi movie, and Elizabeth says he can stay, and he leftovers if he wants, and Phillip invites him over for dinner tomorrow, since they have a business meal tonight. And they sit in the lobby of the hotel drinking, and he goes to get a newspaper. And we see that Clark watches people in the lobby as Elizabeth watches the desk clerk's shift change. She says it's not a woman. He says they could come back in the morning, but she says there's no time. She says she's going to check in. And Stan then sits in his cluttered house annoyed. There's a knock at the door, and it's Henry, and he's brought back the movie. And Henry asks if he has time to play the football game, and he invites him in, and Henry's alarmed at the mess, and Stan explains that he has to look at all their stuff and says that what he wants, and says she has to do the same. And you can see that he really is upset about what's happened with Sandra. He's really upset about Sandra and everything that's happened there. I really did feel bad for him in this episode, and he says his dad left for a while but came back, and which is true, that did happen. But Stan's talking about how that's not going to happen with him. She's left for good, and she's made it clear she doesn't really, as I said before, I think Sandra does care about Stan. I just think she doesn't really want him in her life anymore, and Stan says that the house is pretty big for him, and Henry asks if Matthew still lives there, and Stan says he doesn't know, because he doesn't know, and he goes to get the game, and he's really unsure of what's going on. It just makes us feel really bad for Stan. I definitely love that scene. So Elizabeth hears a knock on the door, pulls her top down a little lower, and it's the clerk, and she shows him the stain on the bed. He thanks her, and she says he'll make sure housekeeping comes up right away, and says he'll comp the room. And Elizabeth says she travels a lot and stays a lot in different places, and she says he has a good attitude, and then says her company is paying for the room, and he doesn't need to comp it. And he offers her a meal, and she acts like he was offering a date, then says no. And, sorry, she asks if she can get that next time she's in town. He agrees. He hands her a card and says has his direct number on it. She reads his name is Neil, and he leaves. So, Phillip goes to see Gabriel next. Now, it's very interesting seeing what was going to happen here, because as we know, the relationship between those two was not good in the last episode. So, I didn't really know what was going to happen between Phillip and Gabriel in this episode. He goes to talk to Gabriel, and he says the Residuntra had got a message from Yusuf, who says he's coming to see him in 24 hours, and Gabriel says the senator is getting his son an early release from his assignment in Afghanistan. He says Elizabeth asked him to do it, but his son turned it down. So, basically, that whole plan is thwarted. They can't his son's not going to come, his son doesn't want to connect with Phillip, and that's not going to happen. So Gabriel says it can force him to go home if he wants, and Phillip says no, he just doesn't want this to happen to Paige, so he wants to connect with his son. And Elizabeth shows up then and says she's halfway there at the hotel. Phillip says that Yusuf is coming, and Gabriel says then they'll know next steps, and Elizabeth and Phillip come home, and here we go. We get to the best scene, what I think might just be the best scene in Americans' history. This scene right here was just amazing. Such raw emotion. This was the game-changing scene of the entire show, and just, oh my god, this was amazing. Holly Taylor, Kerry Russell, and Matthew Rhys gave an amazing performance through this scene and the rest of the episode. This was so amazing. They find Paige is still up, and they don't know why she's still up. All they can see is that she's still up, and she says that she needs to talk to them. And when she said that, I'm like, they're telling her. They're telling her in this episode, okay? You can tell that they're telling her. I saw it in the promo, and I said that this is the episode where they are telling her. There's no way they're not going to tell her here. And I love what she asked them. She asked them if they love her, and that honestly is a really good question, because they're gone so much, and they don't act like her parents sometimes, that I can totally understand why she asked that question. And she says that they need to tell her the truth. And she says to look at her and tell her the truth. She says she knows there's something going on. And she talks about how the phone rings and they leave and they're never home. And they have no family there, no aunts, no uncles, no cousins. And they're trying to make it so like it seems completely normal. But I like what she says, that she's noticed it for a long time. And this time she's not just going to let them cover it up. She's not going to let them, not let her talk about it. She wants to have a conversation about this. And she says she talked to Pastor Tim, and he agrees she should talk to them. And she begs them to tell her. She asks if they're in witness protection. She asks if they're drug dealers or she's adopted. Even if they're aliens. There's so many things going through her head. And it's just like, what do you think in that situation? Like, Paige has no idea what's actually going on. And they don't say anything. And she asks if they're just going to keep lying. And it's such a heartbreaking scene. And you can see the look on Phillip makes this nod to Elizabeth, and you can see that nod is basically saying, you know what, we have to tell her. And even though Phillip didn't want, Paige to know, he knows now they have to tell her. They have to tell her what's going on. They have no choice but to. And for a while, you're not sure if they're going to say anything, because they're just sitting there in silence. But then Phillip tells her the truth, and I love that they told her what's actually going on. When Elizabeth told that old woman last week the truth, I knew they were going to tell Paige. I knew they were not going to hesitate. They're going to tell Paige. I mean, Paige is the person they care about the most. Besides each other, they care about Paige the most. And they want her to know what's going on, because they have to. And Phillip tells her they were born in a different country, and she asks where, and Elizabeth says the Soviet Union. Her dad says they came there before she was born. And Paige is extremely confused. She has no idea what they're talking about. And Elizabeth says that they're there to help their people. She says most of what she hears about the Soviet Union is not true. They're not bad people. They're good people. And Phillip says they work for their country getting information. They couldn't get other ways. And Paige says that they're spies. She can tell right away that they're spies. And Elizabeth says they serve their country and the cause of world peace. And Elizabeth says they wanted to tell her for a long time. Phillip says they didn't, and Elizabeth says they know it hurts and it's upsetting. She says she's going, and I didn't know how Paige was going to react to this. In fact, I've called it before that I thought Paige was just going to turn against them. You can see she's not happy with them. She's not happy at all. It's just so much for her to process. I mean, think about this. She just found out so much about her parents in the last, 5 minutes, and she didn't think any of this was going to happen, and she's been extremely confused, and now she knows what's going on, and that was not even something she was thinking of, and she says she's going upstairs, and she's so upset at what's happened, and this next part here I love, because Elizabeth stops her, says, knowing this comes with a lot of responsibility, and Phil reminds her that she can't tell anyone, including Pastor Tim, or even Henry, which, why can't she tell Henry? I mean, I understand Henry's younger than her, but Henry should be able to know. I mean, if they can tell Paige, they can tell Henry. Even though Henry they don't want Henry to be recruited, it's eventually going to happen. I'm calling it now that eventually Henry's going to be recruited by the Soviet. It's that simple. So Elizabeth says that she can't ever tell anyone, ever, and Phillip says just in case she's not thinking clearly, he has to say it, and he says they will go to jail for good if she tells anyone, which is true. That is what's going to happen to them. So Paige is crying. She walks off. I mean, think about what they just said to her. She has no idea how to react to that, and she doesn't even know what to even think right now. She goes to her room, she shuts the door, and Phil picks up the phone, takes it off the hook so Paige can't make any calls, and because they don't want her to, they want to protect themselves, they don't want her to tell anyone, they don't know what she's going to do, they don't know if she's going to make a call, they don't know if she's going to tell everyone, so they just make it so she can't make any calls, and he asks Elizabeth if she's okay, but she says she doesn't know, and she asks if Phillip hates her, and he says no. He says he remembers when she thought them finding out would kill them. She says things change. He says he knows. And the phone beeps persistently from being off the hook for so long, and all you see here is just the phone off the hook, and they're just sitting there. They don't know what to do, and I thought that was an amazing scene. And the rest of the episode is just as amazing, and I love this, because now that Paige knows, it changes the entire show. It changes the entire show. It changes everything that we thought with Paige. Paige is now going to be extremely involved in their lives, and I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen after this, because Elizabeth then comes to check on Paige in the morning. She asks if she slept, and Paige says she wants to stay home today, which is understandable. I mean, all this information she has to process. She can't just go to school and not think about it. I mean, if my parents told me that they were, Soviet spies or something like that, obviously I'd want to stay home. I couldn't, think about all this in school. I could not think about it. It's that simple. She says one of them could stay home with her if she wants, and Paige says no, she doesn't want anyone to stay with her, and I don't think she's mad at them. I think she just wants to be by herself, and she doesn't really know how to process all this right now. So Elizabeth says that's fine, they understand, and then we see Henry, and the thing I love about this scene is that Henry's the innocent one right now. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's just talking to Phillip about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood from SNL, and he's just so innocent, and I love that this episode showed that he had no idea what's going on, and Paige does now, and the relation between them is going to be very different now, because Paige has to hide the secret from Henry, and that whole relationship is completely changed now, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening now that that relationship has changed. So Elizabeth tells Phillip that Paige is staying home today. He sends Henry out to his bus, and Phillip and Elizabeth go to talk to Paige with some food. He asks if she's sure she doesn't want someone to stay with her today, and she says that she's completely sure she doesn't want anything. She doesn't want them to stay with her. She wants to be by herself, and that's what she wants to happen. So Elizabeth says to call the office if she needs anything. Paige asks them to speak Russian, and I love that she asked them that, because she needs to know that they're telling the truth. She needs to know that they are Soviet spies. She needs to know that they're not fucking with her. So Elizabeth speaks Russian, and she says how that they love her very much, and Paige says she just needs to be alone. Even though she loves them, she just can't deal with this right now. And Elizabeth tells Phillip that she doesn't feel good about leaving, which I can totally understand that. She really feels like one of them should stay there, but Phillip says pressure, I love what he says to her, that pressure is counterproductive and will make her angrier, and it's true. Having them there is only going to make Paige angrier. She needs to deal with this by herself, stay secluded for a little bit, get the anger out, and honestly, when someone's angry, that's the best thing for them to do. Walk into a room, sit by yourself, and not think about it, that's the best thing to do. She has a lot of thinking to do, and I love that Phillip said that to Elizabeth, because she does. I mean, this is the biggest secret that she's ever found out. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened in her life, and she needs to think about, you know, she needs to just take her time with this. And he says they have to go to work and hold their breath, and he says Paige won't do anything stupid. He trusts her, and they leave. But then we see that Elizabeth and Phillip are extremely distracted at work. They don't know what to do. They're just thinking about Paige constantly, and this next scene I thought was amazing. I did not know what Paige was going to do here. We see her pick up a phone, I'm like, is she going to tell them? Is she going to get them arrested? Like, for a while, I thought that Paige was going to turn against Elizabeth and Phillip and form, like, her own group against the Soviets because she doesn't like them. I mean, there's so many possibilities of what could happen in this scene, and I love that just this whole scene, you're on the edge of your seat, you have no idea what's going to happen, and I absolutely love that. She makes a call to Sophie. She has to talk to Pastor Tim. She tells him she talked to her parents last night and says she told them how she felt and says they didn't get mad. I thought she was going to tell him right there that her parents were Soviets, but she doesn't. And she talks about how they were surprised. She doesn't give him any details. She says she'll see him Sunday, and it's such a big scene because you don't know what she's going to do now. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what she's going to say to him, and I thought that was really interesting. So at the DOJ, Stan is interviewed by Walter. He asks about the breakup of his marriage, and he says there was no other woman, and he wasn't compromised, and that's bullshit. There was a woman. It was Nina, but of course he's not going to tell him that it was Nina. Stan says things just fell apart, and it really was over Nina. That's really what it was. I mean, he liked Nina more, he was with Nina, and he suddenly wasn't happy with Sandra anymore. He can't say that there wasn't another woman. It's clear that Nina was the reason that those two broke up. That's why that happened. So he can't say anything else because that's the truth. So basically, Stan says plenty of people would have the opportunity, but he doesn't know who. Then he pauses, and Walter asks if he thought of someone, but he says no. Stan goes back to the office and asks Adderhall if he's seen Martha, and he says she had a family thing, and that right there is making me think that Stan thinks that Martha planted the bug, which we know that she did, and when Stan finds out, it's not going to end well for Martha, and it's not going to end well for anyone, and I can't wait to see what happens there, because now I feel like Stan is suspicious of Martha, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening. So then we see Paige, she's eating, she's watching TV, her parents come home, and we still see that she's extremely disturbed. She doesn't know how still to react to this. So Oleg talks to Arkady about Nina. Arkady says they need photos of the bomber for the scientists. A woman comes in with a note, and Arkady asks Oleg to step out. She says it's from Willow, and who says she was threatened by one of their people. And it's a note from Zenaida in code that she left. And Arkady says that the operation was so compartmentalized, whoever threatened them didn't know about it. So basically, I think that, as I said before, I think Zenaida's working with Arkady and Oleg against Stan, but I don't really know what she planted. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there, and this last scene of the episode was just perfect. This last scene was amazing, because Stan, of course, was told to come for dinner, and now he's there for dinner. Elizabeth asks how work is, and Paige stares at him, and he asks if she's okay, and you can see Paige's look. I mean, she's thinking that Stan hunts Soviets, and he's against the Soviets, and he doesn't realize that her parents are Soviets, and she's really upset about it, that the fact that he didn't know that, and Phillip says she's been more observant since she got baptized. Yeah, nice save there, but that's not what it is. And Paige looks at her parents, and the spies are talking to their FBI neighbor, and they're pondering, and her parents give her this heavy look on how you can't tell anyone. She closes up her homework, they sit down to dinner, and that's how the episode ends. Oh my god, what an amazing episode. What an amazing episode, and what an amazing rest of the season this is going to be. There in the promo, we see that Paige is now more involved in their lives, and she has no idea of half the shit that's going on with them, and now they're going to have to tell Gabriel what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen now. Now that Paige knows their secret, many things could happen. I can't wait to see what happens next, though. Let's talk about Gabriel. Gabriel, clearly his main mission is, of course, to recruit Paige and get Paige to work for the Soviets. But does Paige even want that? I don't think Paige really wants that. I don't think Paige wants to work with them. I think Paige is just really pissed at them, and she doesn't really know how to feel about it. I mean, you can clearly tell that Paige has no idea how to feel about this, which is understandable. I mean, if anyone found out, they wouldn't know how to feel about this. But Paige especially doesn't know how to feel about this. She doesn't know what to do next. She doesn't know how this is all gonna... She doesn't realize the changes that this is gonna make in her life. She doesn't realize how this is gonna change everything, and it really has changed everything. Henry, her relationship with Henry is going to be a lot more different now. I don't know if she's going to try to keep this from Henry, if she's not going to tell. She needs to keep it from Henry, obviously. Henry can't find out about this. But how's she going to keep it from him? I mean, it just seems like Paige is going to tell him. I can't see Paige not telling Henry. They have such a strong relationship that I can definitely see Paige telling Henry. Stan, her relationship with Stan's going to be different now. When she sees Stan, she's going to think he's going to hunt that he's going to hunt her parents, and she's going to be terrified of Stan. And I'm pretty sure she's definitely going to question Phillip and Elizabeth about that, but I can't believe that Paige found out. The entire show feels different now. After Paige found out, I felt like I was watching a completely different show, and I love it. I love that The Americans has done that. I mean, we're in Season 3, and it just got renewed for Season 4. Thank God it did, because it totally deserves it, but now that it got renewed for Season 4, everyone's thinking that the show's going to run for probably 5 seasons, and if it does, then we have 2 more seasons of this, and I don't know if what Gabriel wants is going to happen with Paige. I don't know if Paige is going to be... I don't know if Paige is going to be... They're going to be able to recruit Paige. I don't know if Paige is going to be... I mean, Paige is definitely very unstable right now. She needs a lot of time to think, a lot of time to process what's going on in her parents' life. It's going to take a long time for this to work out, and I don't really know what's going to happen there, but we'll have to see. As far as Kimmy goes, I mean, I definitely feel like Phillip's relationship with Kimmy is going to change a lot more now. Because of the fact that, now, as I said, he thinks of Kimmy as Paige, but now Paige knows, so he knows that Paige is not going to turn out like Kimmy did. But I'm worried that now, maybe he'll tell Kimmy the truth. I really don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like we're at the point now where people are just going to start to find out, and if Stan finds out, then everything is ruined. If Stan finds out that Phillip and Elizabeth are these 2 FBI, are 2 Soviet spies, I don't know what's going to happen there, but I'm very intrigued on where we're going to go there. Now, let's talk about Martha, because obviously Stan is starting to be suspicious of Martha. Martha, we know, is the one that planted that bug. Zenaida. What did Zenaida... so I definitely feel like with Martha... He's going to start to get more suspicious of her. He's going to accuse her of what she did, and it's not going to end well for anyone. Zenaida. What did Zenaida put, what did Zenaida place in that, what was it that Ziniada placed in that bathroom? What was it? I don't know what it was. What she put under the counter? Is she working with Arkady and Oleg? Should they trust her? Or is she working in a completely different organization? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with Ziniada, and I really do like that. Let's talk about Pastor Tim. How is that going to change between Paige and Tim? Is she going to be able to keep this secret from someone? Me personally, I feel Paige is going to tell someone. I really do. I don't think that Paige is going to be able to keep this from someone. I think that Paige is going to tell either Henry or Pastor Tim, one of those 2 people, and it's not going to end well for Phillip and Elizabeth. They're going to be pissed at her. I definitely see that happening. I don't see Paige being able to hold back this secret. Now, yes, Paige is very responsible. She's very smart. I understand that. But I just don't see Paige being able to keep this secret. I mean, it's such a big secret, and it's so much information for her to process. How can you not tell someone? Like, how can you not do that? Like, if I was Paige, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to not tell someone what was going on there. How do you not? I don't understand how that works out, and next week's promo looks absolutely amazing. Paige is going to start to realize more about Soviets and that they kill people and things like that, and I can't wait to see how this relationship changes now. I can't wait to see what's going to happen now. I mean, the season finale is called, apparently, like March 8th, 1983, which is real something like that, but apparently it involves Paige working with Phillip and Elizabeth. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get Gabriel to recruit Paige. I don't know if he's going to be able to talk to her about it. I really don't know what's going to happen there. I know I keep blabbing about it, but I just can't get over it. I can't get over the fact that Paige knows. You guys don't understand. I've wanted this to happen for such a long time. I've wanted this to happen since episode 1 of season 2, when Paige was looking around in that laundry room and they told her not to. That's how long I've wanted this to happen. I'm pretty sure we've all wanted this to happen. I mean, I don't know if I've said this, but Paige is my favorite character on the show. She is. I mean, she's so observant, and now she knows the truth, and everything's going to change. Now I don't know what is going to happen now, but what do you guys think is going to happen? How is their relationship going to change overall? Now that Paige knows what is going to happen between Phillip and Elizabeth, is she going to blab to someone? Is she going to tell someone the truth? I mean, I really don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to see what happens. Also, Stan and Walter. Why isn't he telling Walter the truth? Like, why isn't he telling Walter about Nina and everything? He needs to be honest with that, because Nina was the real reason why him and Sandra, got separated. That's really what happened there. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. What an amazing episode. By far the best episode of The Americans ever. I'm not kidding. This was my favorite episode ever. The entire show has changed. The biggest revelation has now come out. Everything has changed now in the show. Paige knows, and everything is going to change. And I cannot wait to see how this... We have 3 episodes left. These next 3 episodes are going to be amazing. I can already tell, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for a movie review. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.